welcome back. Yeah. Welcome back to Suara Kita Ni for another new episode. So today we don't have any special guests, but kita ni ada special, very special VVIP guest, which is kami punya host. Kita ada co-host.
Nasi gorengnya. So sorry, someone told me that once.
Bukan USA atau kah untuk nasi goreng?
Karang
nasi
claim
goreng USA.
Boleh.
Tengok bah. Karang siya. So basically introducing our other co-host. He's gonna be doing the hosting in the near future.
Co-hosting.
So by the way, I'm Hazman and this is Emma.
Thanks for introducing me.
Right. So Fadli. So let's talk about you. Terus lah. Nampai bunga-bunga, you jump in terus. So introduce about yourself. I mean, are you working right now? Are you involved in anything?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Fadli. Thank you for having me. This is my first time doing a podcast. Thank you, Hazman. Thank you, Emma, for having me. I think a bit about myself. I think I've always wanted to do this. So special shout out to Shafi for having me here. Tapi inshallah in the time that we're gonna do this podcast, and I would love to share the journey that I've went through as a youth advocate in convening forums and being part of the global shapers at BSP as well as the Young Professionals Network, and to have conversations between friends, inshallah. So I think in the time that I've had dari meragang in this early decade, and then belajar di UK, and then after that working full-time with the government, serving my bond. I've gone through numerous activities from starting out from the student council in student government basically, and then going off to the UK, serving society leaders and then coming here back to Brunei with the development that it has had. It's crazy. I mean, from early decade on to where we are, things have changed so much.
Tremendously, yeah.
Yeah, so it changed so much. And lagi dengan podcasting, and it's going to be quite an interesting development in this coming 2020 kan ni.
Sorry kau asam silent sudah.
Hi.
Okay, so how long have you been involved with the youth driven community?
Hey, you can say it's been.
Because you started in Maragam, right?
Oh, it's been like 10 years or so.
10 years.
It's almost a decade to that. I'd say it was a process lah. Obviously, you don't really know what you're getting into. It's not really just about. I think initially it was about being active, to participate, to be part of something. I think dulu it was more, since we're talking about value driven, I think I was just finding my own identity better. Sure, we're doing our A levels, trying to find the right course about it. It wasn't something you necessarily knew what to do. So at the end, being the only guy in the family, there's a sense where macam feeling out of place tu. You want to find the right group of friends, right group of activities, and there were so many things that I had to go through in order to know what you really are, if that makes sense. I guess it's that teenage angst, coming of age kind of ba.
I think at the time macam you're like just finding what's your value.
Yeah, that's right. And I think serving the cause, I think, was a sense of being with like-minded people, and that's my comfort zone in doing this lah. Contohnya.
Yeah, I think this is the right time to discuss the topic about we have the Hari Belia Youth Day for Brunei Darussalam on 1st August kan.
That's correct.
And then it's gonna be like ongoing for inshallah for the whole month. And then on the 7th of August was the International Youth Day. So let's discuss about macam the topic. Kalau Brunei we have Belia Siaga Masa Depan. My question is apa siaga?
I had the same question
What is siaga in English though? What is siaga in English?
I think it's kata ganda. Siap siaga.
Siap siaga.
Oh, okay.
So means that
I think so.
Means that is
audience, please feel free to comment.
So means that I think it's in English is future driven, future ready youth, right? So
Okay, that makes sense.
siap siaga, so mean get ready lah. So basically I believe dari dulu sudah like generation from your parents, grandparents sudah. They are Belia who are willing to make a change in their country, in their community itself kan. Tapi I would also like to discuss what's the concerns, the problems juga. Kenapa kadang-kadang Belia ni indah ready for the future ni.
I actually had a conversation about this in the recent few weeks in it. So part of doing the work we do at Young Professionals Network is that we've been holding youth roundtables with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. And then prior to that one, I think in the last 3 to 4 years, I've accidentally come into this forum of youth, especially with the Bruneian Youth Forum in moderating. And then suddenly you think back about doing these things repetitively. And I think it's a matter of maturing the audience, tapi at the same time, now we're coming to a point, I'm coming to a point where it's already 2020. When we've asked the question, apakah sebenarnya Belia mau? That question hasn't been answered directly. So a friend of mine just had a chat over lunch kan. Maybe it's just about clarity. We just don't really know what we want sebenarnya kali. That's why we're not really ready for the future. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, we haven't seen the future yet. Like we don't know what to expect. Like, we don't know what we want.
It's a bit ironic kan. We have wawasan 2035.
Yeah.
Tapi mungkin kami ni belum lagi dapat
It's not
menghayati.
printed clearly. Yeah.
Because I think I agree with that sense juga, macam the clarity itu dia berapa clear juga. Pasal I think this personal macam thinking juga. Even the menteri kan, the menteri itu, orang rotated juga. Saya rombakan. Sometimes orang punya idea project itu kadang-kadang have to stop because they move to another ministry. And then sometimes juga macam the other ministry is handling the project.
Continuity.
Ada continuity itu. So we are also not sure juga macam where is this going. Macam okay.
One person is saying this, the other person is saying this.
Yeah, macam okay. First we had macamnya okay ya, Belia we have to get ready for this. Toto, you kena pindahkan ke sini. This one has a different idea. No, let's change this one. Let's terbalikkan buang this one, we make a new one. So I think the clarity itu starts from there juga, starts from top juga, and then bukan saja on top, it starts from bottom juga.
Yeah, it needs to be communicated directly.
I think to acknowledge I think a lot of the work we also have to recognize the government has done a lot juga.
Yes, true.
Dari segi melihat top down kan, wawasan was created. So obviously there is a document, there is a secretariat that looks into it, there is a sense where they are trying their best to communicate that. Mungkin kali is just that translation when it comes down.
Yeah.
Bottom up. That's why maybe the conversation could also be bottom up change kali juga.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Even now, they said banyak Belia, even the youth sekarang, orang pengen cari kerja masa ni that macam we study so hard tapi kena begitu jangan memilih kerja macam tu. And they always said like wah apa tak kami belajar to this point tapi nak suruh pilih kerja semua tu and find something else. So macam dorang so what's macam they sometimes feel demotivated to do this macam to initiate themselves to change, to make a change.
Well, that comes back to I guess finding our identity, conflict dengan diri, but knowing ourselves well enough to know what to do lah. I mean that was me 10 years ago. one full circle, I suppose.
Yeah, I think everyone did one full circle. You maybe faster, maybe slower, a bit later. Yeah.
I mean, each to his own bah. Each to her own je. In a sense where how we were molded is based on our different experiences.
True.
Parents, education,
exposure.
And I think what is important now, we're at this age, about mid-20s or late 20s or so, is about how we can prop each other up.
Yeah. So I think that's the reason why we have this suara kita ni juga macam to enhance the exposure tu juga. Pasal I believe during my time exposure tu was only word of mouth. Only certain people macam orang yang hebat.
It stays in the circle.
They're within their own
only
circle.
people who are in it saja.
Yang in it saja. Macam WhatsApp group tu ada orang siapa dalam WhatsApp group tu atau je tahu lah. So macam at that time was like I feel like information tu ni orang nya. Because when you mentioned that the communication from top to bottom atau kadang-kadang ni orang, this is my job. Why am I circulating this?
It's like if we're talking not just about that, it's just like knowing where to go for the right hardware store or the best fish and chips place or the best podcast.
Suara kita ni cup of reminders. Yeah, I mean, it's true pulang. Tapi back again, it's still the individuality tu lah.
That's true.
Macam that person has to take the initiative to move forward.
Be more proactive in
macam
your
cari barang tu lah.
Tapi I think I love that key point, and I do really want to highlight that. It's about celebrating kita ni punya individuality tu yang sayang lah. Mungkin itulah kali yang membuat kami ni macam in a confident whenever we put ourselves out there.
True. I mean, there's a lot of factors juga macam who's gonna be involved in
shaping
the
our
shaping
values.
Macam we have family, we have parents, we have the community and the country itself juga. I mean, if to compare macam other countries kan, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam apa, dorang punya Belia tu are more proactive and more engaging with the people tu. Dan Brunei ada tapi it's not as good as them lah. We will still managing it cuma
I agree, but it comes with context and history juga. You know, with Singapore and Malaysia, they've had their own fights and internal strife. Kita ni Brunei pun, I think we've had our own journey juga. And how is that translated to our current generation is something worth having a conversation about. What is it sebenarnya yang kami belajar dari sejarah and what we want to do that moving forward.
True. That's true as well. Macam sometimes kita kadang-kadang we are not macam ilmu tu kan sepatutnya diturunkan from nini to bapa indung apa dan to the kids dan to your kids apa. Sometimes the ilmu tu stop somewhere then it doesn't go to the younger generation. Macam bahasa kita ni juga, macam bahasa Kedayan dusun, Murut apa, that even bahasa Belait, you guys know ada bahasa Belait kan, but aku ni pernah dengar bahasa Belait tu why? That's the why tu.
It's because they don't see the significance of it, and so they don't translate it further.
Yeah, I mean sometimes that's the thing. Macam kita tujuh puak jati tu. tujuh puak jati Brunei. But I only heard a few languages from them and tapi ini semua. So I think we can see that macam ilmu itu berapa kan turunkan gitu.
I agree. I found that kalau dari segi creativity ni kan, it's as if kebudayaan kita ni tu mungkin bukan dia kena lupakan lah, tapi not as emphasized ataupun ditekankan as it should compared to say abstract art ataupun localizing kita ni punya trendy things, which is fine. It's just suddenly we're having this conversation about different languages. If that comes from kami sendiri sebagai orang Belia, why not we initiate that kan? I think contohnya ni alhamdulillah Majlis Belia Brunei just introduced a class on traditional music, and I feel that as simple as that makes it feel barang ni accessible untuk saya sendiri lah as orang Belia, because I do want to learn, do want to enjoy. Maybe I suck at it, but at least
ada usaha tu penting. Usaha
tu just to understand kita ni punya orang budaya. Kami lupa sendiri ada 4 daerah, ada 7 puak jati. And what does it mean to be orang Brunei?
Yeah, I mean that's the identity. Oh, we're supposed to be that deep though. I mean we got to show our identity as Bruneians. I mean what happens kalau kamu nanti like representing Brunei keluar negeri, kita kena tanya how
what
many
makes you a Bruneian?
what makes you Bruneian, and what's your ethnicity, how many ethnic groups kamu ada, and what are the languages apa semua tu. Kadang-kadang itu become a question because when I was in joining kapal Belia dulu, and I was asked that, ya 7 pok jadi, but what's the difference between each pok atau, I was like apa? Because I know a few here, macam differentiate ada satu.
You know, I want to put this in the same context, in a different figurative way of doing it lah. Dengan with COVID masa ni, borders are closed. A lot of people are now getting to know their own country. Kenali negara kita.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I didn't know there was so many different bukits that you could.
Right.
I know, right? There's so many different wasais.
Yeah.
Say that. I was like, how did this happen? How did it happen?
Even Pulau Belumbungan, if I'm not wrong. Atukah namanya?
Pulau Pelumpong.
Like the
Pelumpong kah?
Yeah, Pelumpong.
Pelumpong batas tu. That is like one of the famous.
But to someone like me who lives across the river, I didn't even know such. Brunei Bay.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's our fault juga. Macam we don't expose ourselves to these areas. Macam yang bukit-bukit. Yang bukit-bukit atau lagi Bukit Silat. You know, we have Bukit Korea in Brunei. Kan?
Ada tak siang tak? Siang si Korea.
No, I mean nama bukit tu Bukit Korea.
Okay.
They label it
di mana tu?
It's in Tungku, if I'm mistaken. Yang tempat hiking sampai Bukit Silat.
Ada kat belakang media ni kan?
No, a bit further lah. You know, jalan penghubung.
That could be a podcast topic nanti.
Penghubung
Where to hike?
Yeah. So, talking about the hiking thing itu, there was a viral thing going on, I think a week ago.
So that kid.
About the kid itu. Collecting trash apa. Apparently they continued cleaning up the tumbing Brunei atau di yayasan ni. They went and like scrapping off the algae apa semua tu supaya licin apa. So
I saw that picture.
Dia punya family kan tu. I mean that's one example that how a Belia actually can contribute to the community. I mean the family, dia punya family very supportive, dia punya parents yang very supportive juga. I mean okay, so let's discuss about ada that Belia Siaga Masa Depan itu, that peranan siapa yang sepatutnya to be involved with the Belia community. So here it says ibu bapa, keluarga, masyarakat dan negara. So I believe that this is the 4 major cores contribute in shaping the Belia tu kan. So especially memang lah from the first thing first is the parents lah, pasal parents are the first teachers kan. Macam lahir di dunia, parents yang menjaga kamu, macam orang yang bagi kamu makan, minum apa, baju apa.
I miss my parents now, don't say that.
You can video call kali ke. So yeah, I mean they are the ones who are teaching you. I mean should parents be the one yang macam start teaching them to encourage them to be much more proactive?
I see where you're going with this. I think what I took from the whole hiking conversation is the fact that unless barang ni kena diberikan to socialize, mana kami tahu pasal bukit-bukit ni kan.
True.
So that access to information and how it might be delivered, whether or not it might be different generations dari sejarah ke sekarang ataupun the best fish and chips or the best podcast sekali lagi suara kita ni is the is the fact that how are we going to use these different how do you say kelompok, the different clusters of society yang akan mengambil peranan ni. I had a different conversation or context. This was based on entrepreneurship and how is that translated into mindset. Adakah is that supposed to be coming from the parents in nurturing young people ataupun macam mana? So I guess it's a bit hard to just say that jualah pasal they came from a different background.
True.
And how much can we actually measure society in being able to think in a different way? It's a question I'm posing to come up.
True. Well, I've read this one quote regarding really parents and kids. Dia cakap, it's not as fully as I remember, tapi the context is that kids imitate
Their parents, yeah. That's
Kids
true.
imitate their parents. So if the parents are like supportive the kids follow dorang punya personality tu, macam dia yang strong points orang, macam kalau dorang parents satu pemarah, anak satu maybe ikut pemarah juga. Dan kalau parents satu macam kuat sedekah the kids will follow.
That's true. But I think it's also important to highlight that we shouldn't wait for our parents to imitate the right values. We can take the action ourselves. So,
do you have any life experiences that you can fall from that? No, I mean, I'm curious.
Like, my parents, they're not really exposed. They're individualistic in a way. Like, so they're more caring about their surrounding, the closest to them, instead of the society. So, me being here is like a big change to the family because I'm outside. I'm contributing to society in a way. So I'm setting the change in my family. So I did not wait for my parents to show me that. So I take the proactive actions in a way.
So it's your it's more
it's
like
my own initiative
to do that lah. For me it's the community and the environment I was in. As my family, my parents is not that. As mentioned, it's still individualistic lah. I think the older generations are a little bit individualistic. Bapak sibuk-sibuk tu. I can have like my own family tu. Tapi for me, because I start to change masa I joined the MPP in ETB. So the environment tu, the community sana tu help me change like I don't want to do this I'm tired of like macam being a bum di rumah macam potato couch tu. Let me do something. So from there the change starts to show macam I start
you become more selfless.
Selfless lah, macam I start like doing events and seeing more views, more things macam orang ni ada di Brunei, orang ni pernah kena buat and stuff like that. You learn the history, you learn the events, and after you learn the future after that.
But maybe just to see it on the other way, maybe there have been older generations that have been the way they were. But I think to be fair, at least coming from my case, I have parents who both served in uniforms. They have a need to serve for a bigger cause. And in a sense, maybe it's just finding, it's just the different environments, not just for us, but how our parents were brought up.
True.
And for me personally, it was coming from that heart at home. I didn't really grow up in a kampong or a community until recently. Meaning to say that I think a lot of my values came from home and then later translated into being in the right school with the right friends. So I think it's vis-a-vis. It goes both ways, I suppose. And I think maybe inshallah in a future episode, suara kita ni, there should be a point where we could also recognize how our older generations have contributed and attributed, especially yang berjasa tu lah. Yeah,
I mean, those who are yang berjasa tu, they have a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge, wisdom tu. Macam for me, they are the ones who actually we are supposed to ask these questions anyway. Macam especially yang pension tu, the retired government officials, the retired uniform officers, macam what do they really want from the Belia to do?
I like this quote Aji loves to say during panels. Yang muda disayangi, yang tua dihormati. I think it's the exact same thing we should emulate. Pasal dengan with wisdom comes with age, and I think that's where best practice of how older generations can come in.
True.
Kami dengan tenaga kali.
Because they if they don't have the, as mentioned, the energy to do stuff, they can share the knowledge tu. That's why macam even lecturers and teachers they have a lot of ilmu tu kan di-share but kadang-kadang we ask the wrong questions. Probably we ask the wrong questions kadang-kadang macam they feel like macam you're not asking the right question to me. Sometimes for me they can be selfish though. They said if you're not asking the right question, I'm not going to give it to you cuma tu. But
and I think if ever that comes to a point where we fully realize kita ni punya identity, I just hope Belia themselves find themselves inspiring and being able to inspire others. I think that would be a point when different generations can come together.
True. Also, I have a question juga. Macam a few months ago, I've been like going through Twitter apa semua. Macam we have a lot of things, macam trending things, viral things apa. Then at one point I was thinking of, are our generation ni too sensitive kah? Macam we are sensitive.
I've got a good one here. I cannot remember this YouTuber, but there's this my friend Safwan Muhammad, check him out. He posted
Twitter handle-nya ke tau? Facebook.
You can find him on Twitter too. He shared something on Facebook. I can't remember the YouTuber's name, but there was a brief comment that we both had about how countries, welfare states, have always provided free healthcare, free education. Alhamdulillah, that's great. But there's this phenomenon where we take that for granted because it's like I love the quote that was made. The cost of free. It's quite ironic. The cost of free that allows people to take value for granted because there was never any value in that in the first place.
Yeah, they cannot learn to appreciate because it's free.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going through. Tapi alhamdulillah, there is also a realization that I think now acknowledging the situation and how we want to go about that. But it's so ingrained in us. I think that allows ourselves to be a bit more sensitive because we're not used to change.
True.
We're not used to valuing things.
What happens if sekiranya the free healthcare and the free education just start asking people to pay up and stuff like that. Macam JP, I don't know if you guys pernah Jurong Park dulu. It was free kan. It was free for like everyone can ride apa. And all of a sudden after a few years later they renovated and then they have to pay. People the older generation start complaining, dulu free juga, kenapa we have to pay? Cuma tu lah.
Yeah, they're used to that.
They're used to that lah. Then the younger generation kadang kenapa kan bayar saja baca tu. Macam I don't get it. So maybe as mentioned tadi itu macam we actually was appreciate the cost free cost atau.
But I think it's also reconceptualizing that because at the end of the day we want to support people.
True.
And that's where entrepreneurship comes in. Now, for example, Katimahar. Now imagine if we actually
follow Katimahar Agripark era Instagram.
I was thinking like just as simple as that as a businessman. We don't pay for your bikes, we don't pay for your fuel, we don't pay for your maintenance. Obviously there won't be businesses popping up. True, yeah. Then that wouldn't be called an economy.
Sometimes people pun yang I like to look at macam orang Facebook kan. People put there's like business group where people buy stuff, sell stuff apa. And then they post the price now. They post the price. Let's say mobile phone $150. Sekali kan ada tu teks di bawah. Kalau less berapa? Boleh swap apa. Then I start thinking that people starts to want like macam they don't want to at the point they said we want to support your business but aku mau murah. That's all.
One thing orang Brunei will hustle is getting very cheap things.
and they say the foreigners are cheap. I was like, okay, have you relaxed yourself? Macam we even hustle. Macam even macam businesses kan even because for me if I have a friend who ada business, I buy from them because we're not actually degrading them. We're supporting them. We want to buy stuff from them macam tu. Dan sekalinya ada kawan-kawan harga kawan ada kah? I was like, kalau ada harga kawan, memanglah disetkan sana. But there's no harga kawan kan. So you just have to pay because you're supporting their own punya business. I mean, so I totally agree that Bruneian are cheap. If you guys disagree, comment. Let us know in comment.
And that's a good way actually framing back into the conversation, guys. Sorry, jadi pengurusi pula.
Okay.
Tapi I was just thinking about that. How do you frame cost of free to being future ready agents, future ready Belia Siaga Masa Depan? is it it's not just about maybe lah for me maybe it's not just about trying to pay, tapi it's also how you value others and valuing yourself juga.
How you treat yourself is how you treat others, basically.
That's actually a good quote. Yeah.
It's really for me right now it's really hard lah. We reach a difficult point at this time. So we have the COVID thing and people start to panic and then they said everybody's for themselves. But we have those selfless people who are the volunteers, especially the frontliners juga. They cakapnya let me serve this, let me do this
I'm actually doing a webinar after this.
What about the so yeah, I mean means that there are people who say I don't care, I want to do this, I want to help out macam there are some people that, but there are some people juga macam this kind of people ni cakapnya bapa ko volunteer hindi juga kena bayar. So that's the mindset atu ba kenapa bapa ko volunteer kalau nak kena bayar. I mean money has become dorang punya drive to do apa. I mean pasal dulu macam people say macam if you want to get a good life, get money gitu. Start paying stuff apa. And so it got me thinking that the Belia ni macam money has become a value for them.
I don't know how has it become to that point. I mean, I think dulu if I had to talk to my own volunteer friends, it used to be like certificate of participation.
Composite satu
but looking at it objectively with the unemployment rate going up, is it because we're getting a bit more desperate, which is scary? Is it because we haven't been able to find different sources of income for ourselves? I mean, that shouldn't be coming from me, but that's just me seeing how these things are starting to develop. And I think while we don't know what the solution is, acknowledging it is a good first step.
We also government is also trying to find new ways to generate income,
definitely.
Other than depending on the oil and gas industry kan, they start to export local products. We have chicken sky. Is it chicken sky yang kena import outside? Kena export outside. I think so. It was chickens, and we have salmon. Tuna to be exported ke luar negeri apa. And then so macam slowly we have the clothing industry pun start going out trying to, tapi it's not as big impact right now as oil and gas. Oil and gas is still the main contributor, but younger generations right now are trying to find another source of income for players. Macam they start to do home-based agriculture, hydroponics apa. And then ada some yang start to create their own merchandise in order to self-sustain themselves. So I like the idea, like the some generation younger generation
they're taking
action.
And that's part of creativity, especially coming out of this. Not everyone will come out of this unscathed, especially masa COVID in the last few years of how people have been dealing with this employment situation, and how we've been able to come up with different initiatives from starting your own podcast to bringing revitalizing ecotourism. But a different sense when you talk about what comes in and what comes out, talking about money. But hopefully slowly, once we are able to get a bit firm on what we are and what we want to do, maybe that is what we probably
can narrow the gap between the
basically.
True. So let's move on from talking about family, parents, and then the community. I mean, community itu how can the younger generations younger than us adalah yang pokoknya muda dari kita ni can
Thanks for making me feel old.
Not saying, but age does make a difference, But I mean, how can the younger generation go to this community? I mean, how can they find help out apa semua? We do have those yang di sekolah macam bulan sabit, cadet tentera, cadet polis, cadet bomba, and scout. We have those kind of uniform. Then we have the apa tu? I don't know, masih ada PRS? Masih ada kah?
PRR.
PRR now.
What does that stand for?
Pembimbing Rakan Remaja.
Surabaya, PRS, no?
Dulu. They rename.
Then I don't know. Then can someone clarify it for us here? Macam what's PRR? and then we have like the MPPs you are helping out. Tapi in this more select macam MPP apa PRR tu are selective je. And then there's the prefects apa. Tapi how can these people yang macam are not, orang not talented, are not lucky apa to join this community and help out tu? How tu? Can anyone help that out?
Like observing and how things have developed over the years, even my own personal experience. I was in PRS personally, not student council, as I said earlier in the podcast. There's a good sense where whether or not it's student council atau PRS or PRR, whatever they're called now, is a good way to kickstart student government in a sense how they can represent their peers, how they can help each other, and how can they take on different initiatives. Likewise, whether or not they're uniform clubs, we also do have different hobbies and activities, photography club contohnya. So I think whether or not it's starting out from a leadership position to a uniform club, I think it's how Remaja are able to find their niche. For me, it was very hard to find that, especially being in a very competitive school, dulu masa itu. But once you're comfortable enough to do something that you know you're good at, it's a good start to making friends and having a healthy community. And I think it goes from there, I suppose. But yeah, do you want to share your own experience?
I think you just need to take the chance. Like, you need to be a chance taker. Like, there's always opportunity. You just have to look for it and start taking actions.
What about your own experience during school or post school? Were you able to take things that were out of your comfort zone?
I tried to. I pushed myself.
What did you do?
I volunteered for student body. So during UBD, I was part of the Faculty of Science student body. But I didn't take any leadership positions because I didn't feel confident enough to be out there. So I was just basically a follower lah. But still, it's actually a starting point. You know, you don't have to start big. Just small progress is a progress also. So that's a good start.
How does it feel becoming a follower? I think that's a lot of what people feel. Does it really matter? Does it really matter to categorize yourself away from being a leader, rather than you yourself being in a unique position to do something? That in itself wouldn't that be called of a leadership position just for you? If that makes sense.
I think it depends on the individual itself, because you have your own goals, you have your own comfort zone. So if you cannot force yourself to be out there, you know, like if you're not a leader, you cannot you cannot lead where you don't go. I would say it that way. So you need to.
You cannot go. Let me
listen to this.
You
Post
cannot.
You
cannot.
Hazman can, because I was trying to take what you said today and then putting that into context. Maybe what we wanted to really look at was maybe taking leadership roles in our own in whatever we're doing.
Exactly.
Whether or not you're being a daughter or a son or leading a community or running your own business. I think that's important to say, that
it starts with you.
Should empower yourself.
Exactly.
You should start with yourself.
You should
Come
be,
on, reminders.
you should be responsible for yourself juga. So, I mean, any role yang kena bagi, anything macam bukan kena bagi lah, macam kadang-kadang it's a self declared role je. You gotta be responsible. Take it to the fullest sampai ujung-ujungnya, sampai maksimumnya. And then inshallah that everything will fall into place after that. And we can see where your skills, where your talent is really gonna bloom.
I think since we're talking about individuality again, I think and it's an important conversation for me personally, because in whatever we do, we have our own limits and that energy will deplete. We were talking about friends, the right choice of communities. that comes to a point how you can recharge yourself. And I think that's a lot. Well, for me, that's what I've had to learn personally the hard way in the last 10 years, because not having the right group of friends, the right support system, you aren't continuously able to empower yourself, and suddenly you shut yourself off and you forget what you were made of.
Karena you tired tau, macam you burn out. So I read this I read this one atau macam kadang-kadang you always helping others, you always like giving yourself to others, tapi in return you're not being appreciated.
That's true.
You can feel the burnout, then you start thinking negatively, macam kenapa aku buat macam ni? Why do I have to help you again? Macam you're not gonna have to, and people start thinking. Then it's always going to be back again, refreshing the intention atau refreshing your niat atau macam why am I doing this? Why am I doing
think
this?
of your big why, why you started doing it.
Especially now that awal tahun hijrah is coming up, I think it's a really important question to ourselves. How are we going to do better? How are we going to refresh niat in the upcoming new Islamic year ni kan?
What needs change?
What needs change as well?
Tapi for me personally, this mestinya awal tahun hijrah saja berubah.
Continuously.
We can start now berubah.
I think the right word for that is to beristiqamah.
Beristiqamah, macam consistency itulah. Well, we can talk about that nanti kadang masa awal tahun hijrah release on the 20th of August. Oh, by the way, kemarin was ASEAN Day. Hi.
ASEAN Day. Yeah, happy ASEAN Day.
To
I've enjoyed seeing how people are a bit more proactive talking about ASEAN, because they are involved in ASEAN initiatives. They know what ASEAN is. Dulu itu macam ASEAN, like what's ASEAN, right?
Then ASEAN ada gitu ASEAN +3. Who's the +3 ni? Kenapa ada +3?
Not forgetting ASEAN +10,
banyak. But I mean everyone's starting to realize how big ASEAN is.
Yeah, and I think that I think is a good gauge and measure on how young Bruneians are being seen as world class. And getting there on the way there.
Thanks to all the YBs about the government who has been like reintroducing Brunei. So I remember at the point macam when I went out of the country, then macam we were like having a group of like people. Then in the first question they were gonna ask,
totally relatable.
They're gonna ask, where are you from? Brunei. Where is that? Island of Brunei. Oh, the one next to Singapore. I was like, bukan, next Singapore is Malaysia. Then some also said this from South Africa. Brunei is from from Thailand.
Did you know there is a capital city that's called Dar es Salaam? So there's a similarity there. I don't remember which country.
Well, let's go. Dar es Salaam.
Yeah, I've had my fair share being in the UK. With the different impressions of where Brunei is, what Bruneians do, is it a state of Malaysia, blah blah blah. Yeah, did you guys manage to Google?
Oh, it's in Tanzania. No wonder. Brunei Dar es. Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with that too. Macam there's a lot of people kadang-kadang because I think the biggest one was yang banyak kena tanya tu when I was out of the country was the Sharia law. Because the media misconcept the Sharia, macam the media macam Sharia law tu that you'll be stoned to death if you're gay, and then you'll be killed if you have sex apa semua tu. Then the misconceptions start to become big. Then when I was in Kapal Belia, they start to asking us, is it true that if you're gay, you're gonna be killed like that? I was like, no. What do you mean? It's not gonna be as easy as that. I mean, it's not gonna be easy. Pasal Sharia law, there's a lot procedures to follow before we reach to the point that you're gonna be stoned to death. Because compared to civil law, Sharia law is a law, as mentioned, is law of the God, Allah punya law. So you have to follow this procedure to judge people apa semua tu. So it was really big lah. It was like even some friends from US also tanya, is it true? Is this true? I was like, how to answer this? Even I don't know. Pasal Sharia law at the time was just introduced to Brunei, and then I know it's been here a long time. Tapi they orang start to reintroduce lagi, start to implementing more laws tu. Then it's kind of difficult to answer. But I said, as mentioned again, that it's not as like that mah. It's not easily as that. As immediate as that. Macam kena gantung mati itu pun still pun there's a lot of procedures to follow before kena gantung mati apa semua. So it was fun pelang tackling this challenge. Pasal it's challenging yourself je macam okay, I don't know this, I have to read it.
Educate yourself
I have to
first.
educate myself je. So it was like that lah, macam means that at the point you're back to the story of Belia ni je, means that we also have to educate ourselves regarding these things. Macam what do we know about certain topics, what do we know about certain countries. Macam since we're talking about ASEAN tadi kan, ASEAN has how many countries inside there, and then what are the countries, what were the old names for the countries, macam Ho Chi Minh apa, then Myanmar dulu kena panggil apa, Burma, then what happened to them. It was interesting learning those ASEAN countries. Then you start realizing that we are not much different than them. We just have a different environment, we just have a different kind of stages. Macam I believe that Brunei didn't go to industrialization. We just jump from old school to new school, contoh saja. Because of the late Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin that really helped us into booming into a modern city, which is fine. I was like, we did jump to that. Some countries, the reason why the industrialization is kind of important juga, pasal it helps them to figure out which are good for the country and which is not good for the country, and then starting to move forward from there, which is good. So I mean that we can actually learn from that. As a Belia, we can learn from that from other countries. That's why having us in ASEAN really helps to get more network with other countries and asking them how do they do this, how do they do that. Pasal a few days ago, I went to the MPP. Then I talked to this one person. She talks about having to take care of stray animals in Brunei. We have a community NGO atau kan, so the NGO atau really do help, but how can they give more macam stray cats ni? How can we provide a home from them? Apa semua tu? Okay, alright. So kami kena bagi signal sudah. So we gonna wrap up a bit lah. So we can discuss more about those information on the next episode. Inshallah. So thank you Fadli and Emma for joining us today. I mean it's very insightful. There's a lot of things to talk about. Kalau dapat, we can talk for hours.
We can discuss further on our Telegram.
We discuss further. We have, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a yang terus lompat ko to. Alright, to our subscribers, is that we have a Telegram channel, Suara Kita Ni. So you can find the links ara kami punya YouTube or Instagram or Facebook as well. So follow us on Suara Kita Ni. And then if there are any topics you would love to see us to discuss, or anyone who would you like us to invite you to talk about, I mean, questions that we want to provide for to the guests, please let us know, text us, DM us, apa lagi tu, put a comment into our YouTube channel, anything. We are, inshallah 24/7 will be there, inshallah. I don't know siapa bangun tema tu. And then do follow us on Instagram, our personal Instagram. If you guys want to know, we have Emma, we have Fadli, and me. So you can bukan naikkan upkan followers ni just to help us out regarding who do you want us to talk to and who do you want us to discuss with. Semua apa. Alright.
Hazman, maybe just to cap it off, maybe you can just summarize what you thought about our discussion today.
Yeah, alright. So semua jadi moderator ni. Macam aku pun terkejut. I'm not really good at moderating, but yeah. So yeah, we talk with so to cap it off, we talk about the Belia, how Belia, the youth can be future ready in what they can do, what can they approach, how can they contribute, who do they approach, apa semua tu. I mean, so inshallah, if there are some information that we are lacking, do let us know and we will clarify lagi maybe in the next episode. Right, so let's
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hazman. Thank you very much. I think for me pun baru pernah sinjin job dengan membuat podcast ini. Baru berjumpa for the first time. Yeah, and I think I really appreciate and a good reminder to myself on what it means to be future ready Belia.
Yeah, it's also to us lah yang refresh kita ni punya niat. Why are we doing this job? So inshallah in the near future, maybe if we can go through in 10 years time, 2 years time, I hope we still have the same niat as we once did to work, inshallah. Right? So thank you everyone. Okay. So guys, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Suara Kita Ni.
Yeah.
Yes.